Hey friends, at the July Call to More event, I told you about a single mom of six, and I wanted to come on here and give you an update in her story because I've been just blown away by what God has done. When I told you about her and we took up an offering, I mentioned to you that I knew that as soon as I said single mom of six, there were people in the room who put a wall up. I totally get that. And I asked you to take the wall down and to really approach her in the situation the way that Jesus has always done with us. He has never required anything of us in order to come. He doesn't have any prerequisites. He just loves us and meets our need. And I watched y'all do that for this woman, and it has really blown my mind. I want to give you kind of the full story so that you can see, man, just how amazing God has been in this situation. She had COVID back when COVID first, we first began to learn about it. And so the doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. And they didn't treat her right away. And she ended up with long COVID. So she still now has damage to her lungs and her heart that affect her on a daily basis. Some days are harder than others. She was working for through a temp agency for a local school district, and she also was driving for Uber after work so that she could make enough money to support her family. Well, when the school year ended, the temp agency laid her off, and unfortunately, she got behind on her car payments as a result of that, and her car was repossessed. Well, obviously, with her car repossessed, she couldn't make her car payments. She couldn't do her job at Uber, right? And so that was her second job, and she lost both of them. So there she was, unable to pay any bills, and she needed her car to be able to drive for Uber and just to take care of her family, right? She has children at home that she needs to feed and take to appointments and all the things that you do as a mom. Someone that I knew connected me with this situation. And I really wanted to help her. I wanted to help her get this car out of repossession so that she could go back to working. Well, in the meantime, she decided she wasn't going to sit around and wait. She went and got 2 part-time jobs that were within walking distance or that she could ride the bus to. And so daily she was walking and riding the bus to get to her jobs. I had spoken with another church that was going to help get her car out of repossession, but they had a cap on how much they were able to give to the situation, and it wasn't enough. And that was what kind of drew me to ask y'all to help at Call to More in July. And so, like I said, you did show up, and we collected $500 to help this woman at that small little event, you guys. What a huge, huge thing. And so we were able to pay with that money to get her car out of repossession. And I was so excited. She was so excited. Well, she called the place that had the car, and they needed proof of insurance to give her the car back. And because she didn't have her car for a couple months, she didn't pay the insurance and it lapsed. And now they wanted this really big sum of money from her to reinstate her insurance. And she messaged me and said, I can't go get the truck. So, to shorten the story, I basically gave her some information. She was able to find insurance cheaper somewhere else. And we still didn't have the money to help her pay for that insurance. But I reached out to some friends and ended up getting help from my friend Diamond at the Freedom Room. And I don't know if you know the Freedom Room. They're in Detroit. You need to go check them out, TFR Detroit. They paid for her insurance, and I was ecstatic. So I drove to the place where the car was, met the woman there, and it was the first time I'd ever met her in person. And you guys, she is so sweet. She had a couple of her kids with her, and I got to pray with them. She asked me if it was okay if she hugged me, and I told her, of course it was. And I was just overwhelmed with how amazing it was to be able to bless her this way. So I left, went about my business. A couple hours later, I get a call from her. And she tells me that as she was leaving the parking lot, listen to this, you guys, this is mind-blowing. She's leaving the parking lot at the car place where she was picking up her car, and the car breaks down. She said there was some kind of fluid that came out from under the car, and she couldn't drive it. It wouldn't move. So I said, okay, let me process this. She had gotten a ride home from the mutual friend of ours that had connected us. And I was so frustrated. And I thought, did I do the wrong thing? Like maybe I wasn't supposed to help her. And I asked God, am I being foolish in this situation? Because my heart wants to help her, God. And if you know me, you know I am empathetic. I will cry with you. I will feel your pain. And I wanted to help this woman. And I really, honestly felt God speak to my heart and say, no, Libby, I have always been faithful to you. Why would I not be faithful to this woman? And I was like, yeah, God, you're right. You have always been faithful to me. And I remembered that God had often used people, right? He doesn't show up in person in front of us to help us. See, look at me, I'm crying now. He uses people. And I thought, okay, God, you're asking me to be the person, and I'm going to do that. And so I made a commitment that I was going to follow through whatever it took. So I went on Facebook and posted and said, hey, I need a mechanic that is willing to go to this place to look at the vehicle to see what's wrong with it so that I can determine how much money is needed to get it fixed. Are there any mechanics out here who are willing to do that? So a friend of mine text messaged me and said, hey, I used to coach this guy. He owns an auto shop. Reach out to him and see if he'll do it. So I did. And the guy said, no, I can't go there, but I will pay to have the vehicle towed to my shop so I can look at it. And I was like, that's amazing. So he did that. And when I heard back from him, he had already made several repairs to the vehicle. A lot of money had been covered for free. And he said, I discovered this one other thing wrong. I can't cover the cost for it, but I will give you a really good deal. So listen, I want you to know who this is. I asked him if it was okay, because I don't want y'all to run out there and ask him for, any favors. But what I want you to do is when you need your car repaired, go to this shop, even if it's a drive for you. Because listen, this guy helped someone who was in need. His heart is to do the work of the Father. His name is Zach, and he owns Fellows and Co. In Flat Rock. So anyway, he told me the amount of money that we needed to do this final repair, and it was a discounted price from what it would normally cost to have the work done. So I went back to Facebook because this is where, I connect with most of you. And I said, hey, here's the situation. I need to gather money to get this car repaired. And then I went and did something. And within a couple hours, half of that money was covered by you guys. You messaged me. You PayPal'd me money. And then later that night, I talked with the pastors over called Tamor at Comeback City Church, and they provided the rest of the money. And this woman is now driving her vehicle and driving herself to work and taking care of her kids. And it's because you guys chose to be the hands and feet of Jesus. You represented Christ so well. Without judgment, without questioning, God presented the need and you met it. And that's an amazing thing. And I want you to know what else this has done for me, because listen, y'all, God has been faithful to me in my life. I have seen him move. I have seen his hand in my own life. But there is something different about being invited in to watch him do that in someone else's life. I can't believe I'm going to put this video out there with me crying like this, but I'm going to do it. And it has stirred faith in me and encouraged me to continue to meet the needs of people in our community. And so every time we meet for Call to More, I've asked God to bring a woman who needs something to mind. Connect me somehow. And we're going to meet a need every time. And I'm so excited because Call to More is for you. It is to remind you who you are in Christ, to encourage you to step into all that God has made you for. And now it's for them too, for the people that we may never meet face to face, who we will meet the needs for because God has called us to. And so I'm just so excited about what is coming. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in September.